Welcome to the Nerd Party.
They can travel anywhere in time and space.
Off we go into time and space.
So all of time and all of space is sitting out there.
Welcome to Time and Space, one married couple's adventure through the Doctor Who universe. I'm Jessica Nunn.
And I'm her companion through life and death, Phillip Gilfus.
Yes, you are. Life and death. You actually wrote it down here, baby. Life and death. You have to love me forever, even after we die.
So it seems.
Yeah.
So we had Red Nose Day last week.
We did, yep.
So we hope everyone supported that if you could. Here in America, I think you can still go to Walgreens through June 2nd and still contribute. If you haven't done it yet, we certainly encourage you. For those who don't know, we did a past episode about the charity specials in Doctor Who, so feel free to listen to that episode where Doctor Who has its own Red Nose Day. Now, for some reason, the countries celebrate Red Nose Day differently. So in the U.S., we do it yearly because we can't be bothered to remember other years. So in the UK, though, it's I think every other year.
Yes,
charity event.
Yes, they do Red Nose Day every other year and Children in Need on the alternating years.
All right, so for our American listeners, like I said, still go to Walgreens, or you can go to the website at home.rednoseday.org and still donate and get your red nose for every year here in the U.S., or buy your nose and get ready for UK's next year.
Yes, absolutely. Personally, I say get ready for the one in the UK. To be perfectly honest, America hasn't gotten this thing down pat yet. We watched the 1 hour special, and I found it quite dire, to be honest. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was failing on a few fronts. It was trying to be comedic, but it didn't necessarily have America's best comics. Whereas I think in Britain, you tend to maybe have a top tier.
Yes.
Where we sort of had tier 3.
At best.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, Olivia Munn is not no one.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, Olivia Munn and Anne Hathaway, but then they were put into these weird
situations.
Yeah, that didn't show off their gifts.
And I think UK tends to have a little bit more skits and TV involvement.
More involvement from more people.
Right. Considering, I forget what channel was it, NBC or ABC or whatever channel. NBC,
yeah.
you'd think they would have, the stars of the NBC shows doing something.
Yeah, I think at the very least they could have started with that and made that a little bit more of a thing. I mean, even The Price is Right sometimes gets soap opera actors to be their models. So clearly there is capability of working together as a network. That's CBS, not NBC, but you would think NBC would, and I think people would get behind it.
Right.
In the same way that the West Wing does also. I mean, their people still get together to do fun skits for good causes. So the idea that you can't get the cast of This Is Us, which is another NBC show, to come together and do a fun skit that people would enjoy, I find that difficult to believe.
And of course, that great comedy, This Is Us.
Yes, it doesn't have to be a comedy, stupid. They do lots of soap opera skits and things that, I think that you shut your face. But that's one of the things that makes it fun as well, is to, a show like This Is Us that everybody weeps at, to see their people being a little bit goofy would be a lot of fun. And I think from what I have seen on Twitter, their cast would find it quite enjoyable as well.
Sure. So like I said, but that it's a nascent effort in the U.S., but, they were raising money, and obviously we certainly have money and wealth here in the U.S. of A. that certainly can go towards these good charities. So hopefully it'll get a little bit more popular and raise even more money to help fight child poverty. I did like that, you sort of did get and I'm not trying to make fun of it or take anything away from it, but you did have this sort of
Ed Sheeran
go to an African country, and I know there's countries I just can't remember off the top of my head. I apologize. Go to an African country.
No, I can't remember where he went.
I don't know if it was Ghana or somewhere else, but anyway, it doesn't. It does matter. But anyway, sort of you had this sort of stereotypical poor African child, and again, I'm not making fun of it, but then. I was like, there's poverty everywhere. I feel like that's sort of our go-to. And, of course, then they show something from Arkansas here in the U.S. And so because, I think sometimes it's too easy to be like, oh, it's over there. But at least here in America and here where we live in North Carolina, we have like one of the highest rate of children hunger here in North Carolina.
Yes,
and so I think it's, it's everywhere. So when you're supporting these things, it's not just from this faraway country, it's your local community.
Yes, yeah. And Lorelai Gilmore went to Puerto Rico,
Right.
which is also, of course,
America.
Yes, very important to remind the powers that be that is part of America. And people still trying to recover from the effects of last year's hurricanes, particularly considering that next month starts hurricane season again.
Yes.
So,
But anyway, so like I said, support that cause if you can. Even $1 will get you a red nose at Walgreens in America.
and let me tell you, those red noses have caused hours of fun. We taunted Philip's 1-year-old niece with it yesterday at her birthday party.
Kat has been enjoying playing with it.
I was going to say, yes, Finn jumped up today and has taken one over as his play toy. So yeah, hours of entertainment for the whole family, I think.
So we've been doing a little bit of 12th Doctor rewatching. As I've said before here on the show, I have the Blu-ray 12th Doctor complete, Peter Capaldi. So, just leisurely going through it. We're not trying to binge through it or anything. Watch it when you can. So we watched a little bit. We're sort of in his final series with Bill. So I thought there's some interesting moments. Of course, we came to a line that you said is your favorite.
Oh my God, I hate
Peter
it
Capaldi here.
more than anything else in this world. I can't look at you. I can't look at anything ever again.
I'm blind, completely blind.
It's just so over the top. And the screen goes black as he says he's blind, and throw up a little bit in my own mouth kind of reaction to that. I found it just so over the top.
Cool.
Which is a shame because I really enjoy that season. I adore Bill. I adore Peter Capaldi. That line,
and
I can't cope with.
Still have not gone through all my comics from Free Comic Book Day. I did get some Doctor Who ones, but I still haven't gone through them. So I'm going to go through those this week. We'll see how they were, the Free Doctor ones. So
cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So the idea of a Doctor Who spin-off series comes and goes throughout the years. There was K9 and Company in 1981, but that never got past its pilot episode. However, with Doctor Who returning to TV in 2005, it did not take long for then showrunner Russell T Davies to look for a break-off show. Just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer eventually had Angel, so Doctor Who would have Torchwood.
Torchwood. Outside the government, beyond the police. Fighting for the future on behalf of the human race. The 21st century is when everything changes. And Torchwood is ready.
This week, we'll be talking all things Torchwood, from its 2006 beginnings all the way to Children of Earth and Miracle Day, and as well as its continuing life with Big Finish Productions.
Yes.
Oh, I'm having tongue tie issues today.
But yeah, so Torchwood, sexy Doctor Who, is that what it is?
Okay. I mean, I think Doctor Who has regularly been relatively sexy on its own, but I mean, I see what you're saying in terms of it's a little bit more procedural.
A little more after night, or I don't know when it aired. I think it was on BBC Three. Don't quote me, but it sort of was the. If Doctor Who is supposed to be the family programming, Torchwood is not.
That's true. That's true. It can get a little more risque, a little grimmer, a little bloodier, those sorts of things.
But and we'll get into specific series here in a moment, but having just finished watching all of Torchwood television series, at least, because we just finished Miracle Day a day or two ago, what are your sort of Torchwood thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a shame that it gets so pared down. Mm-hmm. I miss the other three. Once we get to Miracle Day, all we've got is Captain Jack and Gwen, both of whom I love. Well, and Rhys. All of whom I love.
And
I
Andy.
really do. But I miss the others. So, yeah, I feel like it's a little bit, and if I thought that they, like when we first started the Children one,
Children of Earth,
Children of Earth, I thought that some of the characters there might be ones that were, they're going to be new members. They're bringing in a new group of people, and that turned out not to be the case, which I was kind of sad about. And then the same possibility happens with Miracle Day. You know, maybe they're bringing in these Americans to be part of it. Nope. Hashtag death and destruction.
That's right. Well, let's go through the series here one by one. This is my organization, so feel free to disagree, but I sort of loop in series 1 and 2 together. Not that they don't have their own unique parts, but it is sort of the original Scooby Gang, as you were saying. So, what do you think of
the Fabulous Five?
Exactly. What do you think of 1 and 2? I thought it was very interesting to have, not to go episode by episode, but I go to the first episode where you had, and Susie, I think, she was sort of like the number 1 of Torchwood, and then to just kill her off in the first episode. Yeah. Because she was the bad guy, quote unquote. And then even have her come back in a couple more episodes. I think the name of the episode is literally like, why does Susie keep coming back, or whatever it was, where with the sort of the death glove or whatever, resurrecting her. Yeah. But anyway, I thought that was sort of a good first start to sort of, it basically set the premise of Torchwood that we will kill off people. And then I thought the second episode was sort of the sex alien, was the one who came on and took the girl, and every time she had sex with someone, she would kill them, because that was sort of like the explosive life force. And so she ended up like shagging everyone. But I thought that was a good second episode, in as much as that also set the tone of Torchwood. Yes. So death and shagging, that's Torchwood.
Yes, yeah. And of course we get Gwen, who is coming into this completely new at the beginning. So she's sort of the audience's perspective. Right. Which gives the rest of Torchwood an opportunity to explain it. Those of us who are Doctor Who watchers have some understanding, or had some understanding already, of Torchwood. But if you're completely new to it as a concept, then Gwen offers that opportunity for Torchwood to be, mansplained? For that exposition to happen, which I think is really useful.
So let's just talk about 2 of the characters. We can talk about the series, but since they're only in these 2 series, so let's go first with Owen Harper, Dr. Owen Harper, I suppose. What did you sort of think of his character / storyline?
Well, first of all, I think his name is spelled way too ordinary for an actual Welsh Owen. Yeah. I taught a Welsh Owen. He's English, but his family is Welsh, a little further back. And his name was spelled Eoghan. Okay, well, Owen if I'm not mistaken.
Owen Harper may not be Welsh.
So, he certainly seems to sound Welsh. Okay. But spelling his name Owen, I find a little bit. Wait, what? But never mind. Other than that, I liked him. I really struggled with him because I liked him a lot and couldn't figure out if I found him attractive or not.
See, he looks okay. I mean, I'm not going to go into looks then, because I was like, he has a look.
And he does. And it's not conventional in any way, shape, or form. And that was what I was trying. I couldn't decide if I fancied him or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought and this is going to sound horrible, but I'll say it anyway. When I first started watching Torchwood, this is just going to be more about me than anything else, but I remember thinking wow, they don't really care about how people look in casting. This might just be British shows in general. Just because, look, in American television, they're all pretty people, right? They all cast all these pretty people, whether it's a drama or comedy. It's all, you got to look a certain way.
Everybody's got to be pretty.
But in British television, they just actors. I mean, I'm sure they have their own stereotypes and things they go for as well, but just regular looking people in British television.
Yeah, and I would actually agree with that. I think, but it's a running theme a bit. When you think about our soap operas, all of our soap opera actors are ridiculously good-looking or beautiful and wealthy. All of the characters have all of this money. And that is not what British soap operas are about at all. It's, it's much more regular folk. EastEnders. It is so much more normal people who sure are, getting married 4 and 5 times and discovering that their brother killed their mother and all of these sorts of things. You still have the high drama of it, but it is still very much ordinary people. And maybe that's the difference, or a difference. Americans prefer more escapism. These people are nothing like me. It becomes a little more step removed in your Aristotle catharsis kind of thing, whereas British people want to see themselves on screen.
So I think the thing about Owen, I think he's an irritating character, but not like that I don't like him or like I don't wish he was there. But he sort of has his abrasive cynicism. But I think the cool thing, not to skip ahead, but when you get to my favorite episode, which I can't remember the name of, I apologize, but in Series 2, where you get the origin stories, and you find out he was this happy-go-lucky, married, da-da-da, but then his fiancée, I guess, not wife, or I can't remember, but anyway, gets, has an alien that explodes out of her and kills her, and then, that's what caused him to be this sort of, cynical bastard, about everything, and sort of all makes sense to him, but then the sort of, the way he treats, Tosh, who has the crush on him, and the way he's cavalier, but whatever, but I think...
And treats Gwen, whom he has an affair with.
Oh, yeah, that was a weird storyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a weird storyline, right? We can talk about it. That was a weird storyline.
That was a weird storyline.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with that.
But then I thought Gwen and Jack's a weird storyline too, which we can get to in a second.
Yes, yeah. Owen is sort of your quintessential bad boy.
Yeah.
In a way that, Jack is not really. If you describe the character of Captain Jack to
hero.
somebody, you can, you go, oh yeah, no, quintessential bad boy, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. Owen is. Jack's the one who has to make the tough choices, but as you say, ultimately he is the hero.
Mm-hmm.
So,
now then Owen sort of got that story arc in Series 2 where he died and came back, and so he was literally dead man walking.
Yep, which was a little strange.
He had that, and I don't remember episode titles, I apologize, but he had that whole Fight Club storyline.
Yep.
And then he became King of the Weevil somehow or something. I forget that.
Yeah, it got a little strange for him.
Mm-hmm.
Bless his heart.
But then he died.
Properly.
Or I think he, was it radiation and it sort of melted him or whatever, disintegrated him or whatever.
These things
we were
happen.
led to believe, but anyway.
Yeah, these things happen.
So let's go off then to Tosh, who we met,
Yes.
Toshiko Sato. And so what did you think of her character?
Your computer savvy Asian, I think it might be just a little bit stereotypical there. But I like Tosh. I like her a lot. I kind of wish that they had done more, particularly because towards the end they hint at it between Tosh and Owen that actually something
might happen.
And then kills them off, so...
Yeah, because with her, I mean, I thought it was a good, or in as much as it was, but a good storyline to have her. She has a crush on Owen, but it's after a while, you're like, why? The guy's terrible.
Yeah, he is dreadful. Well, because he's the bad boy.
Yes.
And because ultimately, like prostitutes, the bad boys always have that heart of gold that women can see through that gruff exterior and fully believe, yes, that they are the ones who can change them. I threw up a little bit in my mouth again. Sorry.
So I'm trying to think of... Because I agree, Tosh doesn't necessarily have a lot. The only kind of quirky storyline I can think of her, she had this sort of relationship with, was it the alien woman? I'm trying to remember who the woman was. She had this sort of, lesbian... I mean, everyone slept with every other gender in this series.
That's right. I've forgotten about that.
Sexuality fluid. Everyone slept with men and women, and every member of the cast did. But anyway, yeah, she had that. That was sort of a quirky episode for her. And so, but other than that, and maybe I'm blanking, folks, but not that she didn't do stuff, but she was sort of the techie, the heart. I mean, she was, aside from Gwen, often was the conscience of the group, about what was right and wrong and things to do.
Well, and she had a certain naivete.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Which
was refreshing compared to Owen, especially.
Yes, yeah, but then also made her quite susceptible to Owen, because it takes a certain amount of naivete to believe that you can change the bad boy with a heart of gold, quote unquote. But yeah, I liked her. Mm-hmm.
Well, before about talking any of the other characters, I guess let's just talk series 1 and 2 in general. Anything pop-up episodes or pop-up storylines that really you thought were really good or really bad?
No, I thought thought overall it was relatively solid. Nothing comes to mind as, oh, crikey, that's terrible.
An episode I don't like, and I'm not saying it's bad as in quality, just bad as in, that is Countryside. That is the cannibal episode, where they go to the country, and it turns out to be people, like humans. It's
oh, right,
human,
yeah.
But it's all sort of like, in America would be like the Appalachian, whatever, But
easy, we're a little close to that area.
But yeah, the English version of their British version of that, because I forget if it was in Wales or England. But the British version of that, and it's just, I don't want to see that.
So that one you just don't like because it oogs you out.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I'm not going to go through every episode. The ones that pop out, I think, that I remember often are like the one with the time rift. I know there's a lot of time rifts, but the one with the go into World War II, where it's Jack and Tosh, which is interesting for her because, often in Doctor Who, it's sort of, in a good way, color neutral. You'll have Martha or Bill being like, can I be black in the past? And he's like, it's fine. The history's whitewashed. That no one notices. But I think with Tosh, when she goes back in World War II, it's like, no, they'll notice. Someone who looks like of Japanese descent. And,
Yes.
but it all works out. But I think that with Jack meeting Jack, Jack, the original Jack Harkness, it's a little surreal though, because you have, that's Torchwood, of course, but that sort of end when you have the two of them dancing and kissing, and then sort of like the glowy light, and then sort of like, oh, well, then what happened? It was kind of weird, but I get what they were going for.
Yeah. And the other time rift, where the lady pilot comes through.
Yes, that was an interesting Owen storyline.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
The three people displaced in time, where the guy, you had the older gentleman, I think he ended up killing himself, I think. Then you had the girl who ran away, I think. I forget what she did. I think, tried to start a new life. Then you had the pilot who just flew away. As you breaking
do.
Owen's heart.
Giving him another reason to be bitter and cynical to cover up that heart of gold.
Exactly.
That is malleable if just the right woman would come along. Yeah.
So I guess then let's talk a few of the characters, but just series 1 and 2. So Captain Jack, of course, is our intrepid leader. Yeah. I did like sort of the background, because you get sort of his Torchwood background, in the flashback episode.
Yes, yeah, a lot. Yeah, we get a lot of Torchwood background info.
Because we sort of just go, he's the leader of Torchwood, or at least Torchwood 3 properly. In the first episode, we just go from there. Other than having the Doctor's hand, a little bit mysterious. And then, of course, you get that sort of the finale where he leaves to go to Doctor Who for a couple episodes before Series 2 begins. But as far as that, it was sort of interesting to see, like I said, his the explanation of him waiting, for 100 years for the Doctor to return to Cardiff. So he might as well just kill time working for Torchwood. So, and then have that episode with it where, the head of Torchwood kills everyone, including himself, and leaves Jack in charge. And there you go.
There you go.
So I think the only thing that was weird was him being underground in Cardiff for like 1,000 years. I'm like, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get the time, but like wouldn't he just go crazy or something? I mean,
yeah, you'd think so. That's the one where Spike.
And Gray.
And Spike and Jack's brother, bury him. But then that's like the first time we have that instance of, Jack being killed and not coming straight back to life, that sort of thing, because usually he's shot and 5 seconds later he breathes and off he goes. Yes. And so this is the first time we have him buried for 1,000 years. But then that sort of starts off this chain reaction, because shortly thereafter they stick him in concrete.
Yeah.
And things like, and burn him alive.
I think you're mixing up Children of Earth at that point.
Right, no, I know, but it felt like those things happened all.
What do you do with Jack? How can you kill Jack?
How many different ways can you kill and torture Jack? Because because that was towards the very end of season 2, and then when we get into, they burn him and blow. Oh yeah, they blow him up completely, and he comes back, and so then they put him into concrete. It gets a little.
Yeah, and then I think with Gwen, who's, the heart of the show, as you can always say. But I think with series 1 and 2, her coping with Torchwood and what it means, and then her relationship with Rhys, as she's always busy with Torchwood, and he's not...
And having to keep it a secret
right.
for most of those first 2 seasons.
And it's interesting to sort of see the character of Rhys, sort of this secondary, even tertiary character, then grow throughout the series as being a main part of the series. And then I guess you have their wedding episode, and then... Where
crazy things happen as well. And of course, because no wedding day can go off without a hitch.
Exactly.
Do you get it? Because they get hitched.
So anyway. And then you have Ianto.
Yes, Ianto.
The T-boy.
The T-boy. Who also, I would refer to him, at least towards the beginning, as a little bit more secondary.
Yeah.
If Rhys is tertiary, then Ianto is definitely secondary. And he sort of comes more and more into his own.
Yeah, he's sort of the intern of the series.
Yeah, a little bit. Which is interesting because he was with Torchwood in England. Mm-hmm. And so he...
Torchwood 1. Yep.
Torchwood 1. So potentially, has even just as much experience, if not more, than some of the others. Certainly more than Gwen. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it was interesting when you get his background, or even the early episodes where he's hiding his cyber girlfriend in the basement or whatever.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, the basement of the basement.
To be fair, when he first got her as a girlfriend, she wasn't cyber.
Right.
And then that, she changed. People change, darling.
That happens.
I keep trying to tell you.
It's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
And then you sort of get the Jack-Ianto relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, that starts to happen in 1 and 2. Or does happen, I suppose.
Yeah.
They have naked hide and seek and all that. He always cheats.
As you do?
Yeah. So anything else from 1 and 2? Well, other than... So, we didn't talk about Tosh dying, but of course Tosh died as well. So what did you sort of think of the end of Series 2, the sort of cleaning house?
Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm not ready to lose 2 people.
Did you think they were dead, or did you know?
No. I think I knew Owen was on his way out.
Right.
I think I knew that Owen didn't come back, but I didn't know that Tosh didn't. And so when they took out 2 of them, because then that only leaves you with 3.
Right.
By which I mean Captain Jack being 1, Gwen being 1, Ianto being half of 1, and Rhys being half of 1.
Yeah.
So that gives you a total of 3. Mm-hmm. And that's all that's left. And yeah.
So then it was interesting that we go from these sort of traditional, quote-unquote traditional series, to then we go to the mini-series, Series 3, Children of Earth.
Yep. Starring...
The Doctor.
Yes, strangely enough.
So that's what we mentioned in an earlier series, Peter Capaldi. We didn't go into it because you hadn't seen it yet.
Yes.
Not only has he been in Doctor Who, he was in Torchwood before being the Doctor.
That's right.
So what did you think of Peter Capaldi now that you saw him in Children of Earth? Very understated, right? Compared to what we see him as the Doctor.
Very understated, yes. Obviously a very different character. Mm-hmm. But again, and the character is really, really morally ambiguous.
Right.
He's not the ringleader of the terrible things, but he is, he's the middleman.
Right,
he says it over and over and over again, middle management kind of guy, and he plays that. He plays the role as somebody you would think of as any sort of ordinary middle management guy. Mm-hmm. Not as a middle manager who's also dealing with aliens. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that I'm not crazy about the fact that he then goes to his house and kills his whole family.
Right.
I'm less okay with that.
Yeah, and I think...
Especially after the Doctor worked so hard to save them from Pompeii.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's the thing with Torchwood, and it's not a complaint... It's just the nature of Torchwood that there's always going to be a body count, which you don't necessarily get in Doctor Who. I'm not saying people don't die in Doctor Who because they do. This is sort of the famous 9th Doctor mantra, they all live, which is because it's rare. But like in Torchwood, they die. Like there is always going to be a good, decent death count in Torchwood, including members of the cast. So like in...
Apparently, yeah.
So, but in Children of Earth, you get sort of the children in the flashback with Jack, submitting the children to death to the 4, 5, 6. And then, of course, you have Ianto, dying, and you have Jack's grandson dying. But
yeah, and again, that was another one of those places where I was like, maybe he inherited, and I don't know how it could possibly happen, but maybe he inherited his immortality, and maybe, and nope, just dead. That's the end. Done.
So I thought one of the story. I mean, you can,
and sort of the same thing with Ianto. I thought, no, not real, not real, real, not real, real. Oh crap, So
what did you think? You have the Ianto storyline. He sort of gets the not struggle. It's not the right word, but the sort of the focus on him and Jack. Are we a couple? Are we not a couple? And he confesses to his sister that, as far as his sexuality, that he's. I'm paraphrasing. He's basically straight, but Jack's special. And so that's what he confesses to his sister.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that I buy I'm basically straight from Ianto, but never mind.
Well, I'm just telling you what the character said.
No, I understand.
I'm not saying I agree or disagree.
Yeah.
But anyway, then you have his death. So now, I don't think I ever explained this to you because I don't want to spoil anything. Now, I told you when I went to Cardiff, and I'm sure it's still there, but anyway, where the entrance to Torchwood, or the hub, would be, the tourist office. It's actually, I told you, it's not a door. It's actually just a wall. Yep. It's a memorial now. It's the Ianto Memorial.
Oh.
I don't know. I assume it's still up because it's been a couple of years. But so there's just a little that portion of the wall with people would put drawings and there's actually a little sign there from the city, from Cardiff, that sort of explains what the heck this is to people who may not know. And so because people are just that die-hard fans of Torchwood and Ianto and Jack.
Just Ianto? There's no Owen, Tosh?
Yeah, no. I think if you sort of get the the die-hard fandom, the shippers, nothing wrong with that. Who are very into the relationship, and so,
But it's such a tough, when Ianto is dying and he's asking Jack, you won't, or saying to Jack, you won't even remember me, and I'll always remember you, but that sort of brings home Jack's immortality, because, he'll probably remember him, and he'll be really sad about it. But
he will keep moving on.
He will keep moving on, and he will have another love that he loves just as much. I mean, he ends up with the guy in the next one. Yeah. Those sorts of things. It's and I can understand why that would be so difficult for any partner of his.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No, I mean, yes. The reason what I'm thinking is, whenever your spouse dies, whether early, young, or old, and there's always the chance they may remarry. I don't know. You always have that discussion, whether it's okay to remarry. Of course, once they're dead, obviously they can't do anything unless they just haunt you. But anyway,
that's exactly what you should be. That's what I want you thinking of.
Right.
Is not about whether or not you could ever love again, or whether a love will be equal, or any of those things. I want you constantly to be thinking about retribution.
That's right. So in Children of Earth, Gwen finds out she's pregnant.
Yes. Yep.
So interesting development there.
Yeah. Well, she is told
right
that she's pregnant by the crazy guy. Which is very exciting. And then she happens to be where she's doing ultrasound or something, and Jack walks in, and so he sees it. And then Rhys is mad because Jack knows first. Yeah,
there's always been an interesting Rhys-Jack relationship.
Yes, always
been. Rhys looking forward to punching Jack for any reason.
Any reason at all, yeah.
Now, of course, in Children of Earth, so we've already had 2 deaths, and we will have the Ianto death. But what we get in Children of Earth is we get to blow up the hub, the Torchwood hub, and I always thought that was
not we. Jack blows it up.
Yeah,
accidentally because they stick something in him.
Well, that was the plan, but because I don't know. But anyway, it's one of those things in other franchises. To me, it seemed like, okay, we want to blow up the hub in the writer's room, but I don't know why. I don't know, just to move this. I don't know why. But anyway, and so the in-story explanation is they think that Jack's immortality is tied to the Torchwood hub, which doesn't make sense. But anyway, whatever. And so they blow it up. But I was like, okay, well, that seemed...
Yeah, they're also trying to take out everybody in Torchwood. And so with Gwen and Ianto and Jack all being in the hub.
Yeah, I think the thing that always strikes me with Torchwood is how, and I don't know, I guess, because I'm thinking too much about it, I guess, which is what I do. But, so, like, what is Torchwood? Torchwood is this, I don't know, this whole, we're outside the UN, the whole description they do at the beginning of the show. But it's like, but then what is it? This royal chartered organization, right, from Queen Victoria herself. But they're so amateur. They're supposed to be the super secret organization, but then they label all their equipment Torchwood, which I find hilarious. And then, it doesn't seem that secret after a while. Like, everyone just knows there's
and
Torchwood
of course,
over there.
And Gwen talks about it in Miracle Day several times of this. We're supposed to be secret. Guys, why are we telling everybody everything? We're supposed to be a secret.
But it just seems like they're very human. And I don't know if that's a critique, but like all of Torchwood, this series, it's just a very human show. Because they don't always win. They don't always live. They don't always... I mean, sometimes they do. A lot of time, but you never know, even if that gets, you're watching the Children of Earth and there's only 5 episodes. That 5th episode, hopefully all the Children of Earth don't get, eaten or drugged or inhaled.
But to be honest, we don't know.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things about that, that creates tension. Knowledge that those writers are going to kill off anybody they darn well please, except John Barrowman.
Exactly.
It's very much, it raises the stakes a lot for audience members. But
then you sort of had the end of Children of Earth with Jack leaving the planet.
Yes.
Because of Ianto's death and everything, I assume, at that point.
Yes. Although then he goes straight away and meets a sailor, so...
Well, you gotta cope somehow.
Yeah, is that grief sex?
Yeah.
Grief sex with Russell, what's his name?
And then I'm sure later it was group sex. So.
Kylie Minogue showed up and it was on from there, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the more recent Miracle Day.
Yes.
So very interesting. So this was sort of the first 3 series of Torchwood, and then, was it 2011? Off the top of my head, I'm going to look it up as I'm talking here because I was probably wrong. But, 2011. So, so that's probably... I can't do the math. 5 years, maybe a little less after the end of series 3. We want more Torchwood. We want more Torchwood. We want more Torchwood. And nothing. And then finally, 2011, we get Miracle Day on Starz.
Yeah.
Yes, the U.S. subscription channel.
Yes.
Of course, Star Trek's on a U.S. subscription channel these days, so what can we talk about? But nevertheless, it's a little bit different, maybe. But anyway.
Well, certainly at the time.
Yeah. But anyway, of course, this is just as the Doctor Who movie was a Fox BBC production.
Oh, right.
This is a Starz BBC Wales joint production.
Yes, and it gets shockingly American at times. Interesting that 5 years have passed and the baby is not much older.
That's right. Well, I think
Onwin.
Yeah.
Onwin is her name. I have a friend who's got a baby with that name, and so I was going through all my friends and their babies' names to get to Onwin.
It may have been like 3 or 4 years. But anyway, but in series.
Either way.
Yeah, in series, they may have had a different timeline. I was talking about actual time. But
yeah.
Yes. So anyway, so what'd you think of the 10-episode Miracle Day?
Mixed feelings.
Yes.
Again, it felt very American, including in its scope. What did we add up? That there were 5 countries?
Locations, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's Cardiff.
Yep.
London, I believe.
Yep.
L.A., D.C.
Oh, yeah, that's 4.
Then you have...
Argentina and China. 6.
Yes. And New York. Did I say New York?
No, 7.
Because that's where Jack and his flashback is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was very broad in scope. Got some pretty decent-sized American names.
Right. So, yeah, you sort of had the Rex. Oh, my gosh, I can't remember the girl's name. That's an E. But anyway, you had sort of the 2 American add-ons.
Yes, absolutely. Mekhi Phifer being one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you have Bill Pullman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in a weird role.
Yes, but I think he played it well.
That's right. Esther and Rex.
Yes.
And she was played by Alexa Havens, if I'm saying that name correctly.
Okay.
And then, of course, we get Rhys again, and Andy, of course.
Yes.
And then you get Lauren Ambrose. I always get her from, anyway, on that HBO series. But anyway, she played the kitten, the redhead.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I think you actually get Q.
Yes.
From Star Trek, John Delancey.
Yep, of course, Q. And there's another
Nana
Star
Visitor.
Trek.
That was such a wasted role for her. Nana Visitor playing Major or Colonel Curie Nerys, depending on what season of Deep Space Nine you're watching. But like half an episode before she got blown up. And I was like, that's pretty weird. Whatever, I guess. You got
Maybe
the paycheck,
she was just
who
a
cares?
fan.
Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters
Oh, yes.
was in it.
Playing a very bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's often his thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And then we get, I'm trying to remember her name. Anyway, we get the doctor, who I was very sad that died. I remember watching it live. I'm like, oh, she's not really dead.
And
She's
again,
not really dead. She's
I
not
kept
really...
thinking,
Vera Juarez.
Yes.
And then played by Arlene Tur.
I kept thinking, after they reverse Miracle Day, she'll survive? Or Rex will get there in time to save her, or something's going to happen that she is not going to die horribly in a fire.
Yeah. I think Miracle Day, now you, Jessica, you know the way
that is me, correct.
You know the way I feel about...
I'm glad I wore my name tag today.
Well, not the listeners when I say you. But that, you know how I react and feel when I'm watching Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
That is how I felt when I watched Miracle Day live. I think it's different to watch it bingey, which is we did, maybe 2 or 3 episodes at a time.
I can see that.
But if you did it week by week, you're like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah,
was my reaction.
I can absolutely see that. And I felt that a little bit at the end of every episode with it this time. Again, because each one... Every episode ends on a cliffhanger, and each cliffhanger is worse than the one before, and they continue to get thwarted, and nothing goes their way. It's just constant angst and more angst.
Because I think watching it this time, it's not as bad as watching it the first time. I mean, still, I would say not my favorite. If you had to pick 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's definitely going to be listed 4th for me. But it's just because I think... Even watching it binging, it's not as bad, but there's just all these storylines that are unnecessary and or don't go anywhere. So, like, the Bill Pullman character, like, he's introduced as this big thing, but he doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like, what was the point of him again?
Yeah.
Like, I could have had this whole series without Bill Pullman. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's, great actor and does it,
fantastic actor and plays it very well, but I agree, there's no redemption to him. Although he is handy as the threat to blow things up at the end. Yeah. But if that's all, they could have done something else. And again, he is never redeemed.
Right. Which I guess, but even if, and not that he needs, because Torchwood is being a very cynical show. Yeah. But still, I mean, the fact that he realized, yep, I'm bad, I just want to die. Okay, well, that would have saved things. That had just happened. But okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, even, I'm just trying to think, even the Nana visitors, like the, and I can't remember her name, but Jack's lost love, who is apparently the beginning of all this. But anyway, that kind of news anywhere, because, they're trying to find, they kidnap Gwen's child or family.
Oh, yeah, and C. Thomas Howell is there and tries to kill them, and then they sort of kill him, but not really, because nobody can die, and then... We don't know who sent him.
Right.
Was it the CIA? Was it the lover? Was it one of the Trinity?
Families, yeah.
What was he doing there other than staying gold, pony boy? I got nothing.
And then I think it's the 2nd or 3rd episode where I remember thinking, it's sad that this is one of the better episodes, but it shouldn't be. When Jack gets poisoned by, I don't know the name of the actress, but I've seen her and stuff, but by the CIA agent. The Asian, sorry, I wish I knew another way to describe her, who ends up getting her head turned around by Rex.
Oh, right, yes,
yeah.
Oh, right,
I've seen
on
her
the
in
airplane,
stuff. I just can't remember her name.
I don't know who she is.
I apologize,
yeah.
But anyway, the whole episode is he gets sick on the plane, and it's like an episode of House.
Yes, they have to yes, actually,
what can you use an airplane to cure him?
House combined with MacGyver.
Exactly. I mean,
the old MacGyver, not the new MacGyver. Yeah. I don't watch that.
But that's the whole episode.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's kind of a waste.
Getting the tubing from underneath the floors of the plane, and yeah. Again. And again, that's the thing. Everything that can possibly go wrong goes wrong everywhere. All the time. Because I just want them to sit down and have a cup of tea. And at least with the children one, they have that opportunity because they meet their informant at a chip shop or a coffee shop and are able to sit down with her. The girl who later has gone on to play in The Good Fight on CBS.
Which is interesting. I feel like that is almost the Martha role I mean, not that I'm saying there's only one room for one black female in Torchwood, because like in Torchwood, it was almost hinted in series 2 that Martha might join Torchwood, kind of, and she had those 4 cameos, and then you had, and I can't remember her name, but like you said in Children of Earth, and I can't remember her name, but you thought like you were saying, oh, maybe she'll join
Torchwood,
because she seemed like the kind of, and maybe the sort of hinted kind of maybe, but then. No, and then so...
Just no.
Yeah, and
whatever.
You're kind of like, we need to start replacing these people we're losing.
Yeah, and it's not like she was going to play in The Good Fight straight away, so...
And then you sort of have then, with Miracle Day, Esther dies.
Yes.
Which, I'm not saying someone had to, but, in the Torchwood world, people die. I mean, you can't... everyone can't come out clean. But then you sort of have Rex surviving because now he's a new Jack. But anyway, it was even, I just felt like it was weird. 10 episodes. It was one of those things where I felt like they knew they had 10 episodes that they had to write instead of just like, let's write a story, see how many episodes we have. And I guess that's how it works in the real business world, But like, again, Children of Earth, I almost feel like they could have done Miracle Day in 5 episodes, and it may have been a little fast, but you could have just gotten rid of a lot of crap. And you didn't have to have this kind of like bigger storyline, but you just been like, go to the blessing. Like, find that out straight away. Let's figure out what's going,
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, the lady who was in China at the blessing, the bad guy, if I'm not mistaken, is that not Clint Eastwood's ex-wife?
I wouldn't know.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
There's my thing.
But anyway, so we've been going long, I know, but Torchwood, it's a great series to talk about. There's been 4 series.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think we've talked crap about a lot of things, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all of them. And
I know it's an overused word these days, but it is a gritty show, and that can be good and bad. But I think, with a John Barrowman Jack, as we talked in our last episode all about Captain Jack, but it does keep you watching, even though sometimes you're like, what? Okay.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, kind of interesting because John Barrowman is so pretty. He is, and there's not, I mean, he's handsome, but he is pretty. Mm-hmm. He is a pretty male lead for musicals kind of face. He is just a very, very pretty man. And for him to have such a gritty vehicle for as long as he did, and such a really gritty character, I think is probably a testament to his ability. Mm-hmm. Because that's not the kind of person, you think about somebody like Hugh Laurie in Gritty House, just because we were just talking about that, nothing about Hugh Laurie's very...
comedic.
Yeah, there's nothing comedic about him, but Hugh Laurie has a gritty kind of face, which is what makes his comedy so funny.
Oh, I see.
And John Barrowman does not have that kind of face. So for them to be able to build such a gritty show around his personality, I think is really pretty impressive.
And I guess tonally, it's not perfect, but I was reading on TARDIS.wiki or somewhere that Russell T Davies was looking for the angel to Buffy, and that was sort of Torchwood to Doctor Who, so...
Okay.
Whereas Angel was a little bit more grittier than
absolutely,
Buffy, obviously, but
absolutely.
Anyway, let us
and Spike shows up,
exactly, so both times.
There you go.
Yeah. But anyway, let us know your favorite Torchwood moments, or maybe infamous Torchwood moments, or
characters, favorite Torchwood characters, and whether or not they survive. I'm guessing off the top of my head, unless it's Andy. No, they didn't survive.
Sure. And we've been listening to the new Torchwood Big Finish production, Believe. I think we're in part... We've done I think there's kind of 3 parts to it, and we've sort of done parts 1 and 2. So it's been interesting to hear the old Scooby Gang back together, so we might talk about it if we finished it next episode.
Yeah, a little bit strange, just because I've sort of gotten used to them not. And so now we're having to go back in time a little bit and suspend that disbelief. But I don't begrudge having the Scooby Gang back together.
And I did grab a Torchwood comic, or graphic novel, I suppose I should say, World Without End. So I haven't opened it up yet, but I'll let you know how it is.
Cool. So, tell me about the TARDIS library, darling.
For our time remaining, I thought since we're into Doctor Who spin-offs, instead of talking about a classic Doctor Who episode, let's talk about a...
classic Doctor Who companion.
Well, another Doctor Who spin-off.
Yeah.
And that, of course, would be Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yes.
It isn't about class. We're not going to talk about class this time.
We have to go back and actually finish that.
We've never actually finished the series.
Finish
We have
that.
the final 2 in the DVR queue we've never finished. So
Yeah.
one of these days we'll talk class. But anyway, Sarah Jane Adventures, and we're actually going to talk about the New Year's special, which I guess I've been told it's not the pilot, but it is. That is Invasion of the Bane, which premiered 1 January 2007, and according to the TARDIS.Wikia synopsis, investigative journalist Sarah Jane Smith teams up with her new 13-year-old neighbor, Maria Jackson, to face the scheming Mrs. Wormwood, the head of a company producing a popular and addictive soft drink called Bubble Shock.
Bubble Shock.
Yes. So what did you think of the New Year's special, not a pilot, Invasion of the Bane?
Yeah, no, I quite enjoyed it. There was nothing too deadly or dangerous about it. It is definitely Doctor Who light and Torchwood extremely light.
No one makes out with anyone.
No, not even a little bit, which is disappointing. I have high hopes for Sarah Jane and the dad at some point. But I love Sarah Jane so much. So I think anything that she does is...
And I thought the premise was interesting. Now, I'll tell you how we watched this, and this is my fault. But I thought, because I wanted to watch it, and without doing any research, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just download Series 1, and there we go.
And start at the beginning.
And
that makes sense.
Little did I know that, so we actually watched episode 1, which we can talk about, but, so we watched episode 1, which was the Slovene, at the school, but anyway. I
kept asking questions like, okay, this adopted son, Luke,
where's he come from?
Yeah, where's he come from? Where did she get him? Why is he not quite normal? Is he a robot? And Philip's like, I'm not going to tell you. You'll find out. And then, of course, we both realized that, we have to go back an episode to actually find out to the not.
Right. But even with Invasion of the Bane, I feel like there's some things they just... Like Mr. Smith's supercomputer, she just has that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's not explained. Now, K9 and Company, I don't know, maybe I need to watch that, because maybe that explains everything. But, because that was with Sarah Jane and K9.
Right, okay.
In the earlier time there.
Yeah.
Decades. But anyway, they do sort of write off K9 as sort of floating in the black hole universe.
Yep.
So, K9's away.
He's going to come back, though, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not trying to be cute necessarily. I don't know. I think so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That was sort of the way to, like...
Well, because she shows up in Doctor Who with K9.
And this sort of follows that. So, after that episode, this sort of was, I guess, the way to bring her back.
Okay.
Because this comes up, remember she says, trouble in a school, this seems familiar,
Yeah.
That was sort of,
Yeah.
the reference to that episode.
Ah, cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that her living alone, and she doesn't want to talk to anyone, and has her own adventures, because after being the Doctor's companion, that's her only life that she knows. But then,
and isn't very friendly.
No.
Like, when they try to introduce themselves, she's not really having any of it.
Just knowing that, because the old, anyone knows they'll be in danger too, and blah, blah, blah. And,
or they'll leave me,
exactly.
like the Doctor did.
Yeah. But, this is, the kids show, for lack of a better word. Of course, Doctor Who is supposed to be a kids show, but I guess it's not anymore. But anyway, so, but I don't think it's, bad as a kid
No, not at all. Like I say, I quite enjoy it. The little boy playing Luke is very good. The little girl is also very good, and she reminds me of what I think Meghan Markle would look like when she's young. So I can't stop seeing that for some reason. I'm like, oh, it's Meghan Markle as a teenager, and it's not. But this is what I think.
Yeah. So it was sort of interesting. I get to see the Sarah Jane house with the ceiling, or with the attic having all the alien stuff that she's collected throughout the years. And so, yeah, I think, and having watched the first episode, we have the first series that we bought off of Amazon, so we're definitely going to watch it. So, yeah, I definitely would recommend the Sarah Jane Adventures. I know there's more to come, because I've seen an odd episode or two, especially the ones with the Doctor, but even just with the kids, it'd be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and perhaps we'll do a season, spend an entire episode of our podcast on it at some point.
Sure. So, yeah. So, if you know anything that we should be looking forward to the Sarah Jane Adventures, I know there's going to be cast changes eventually, but, we're going to...
It's like Menudo. The kid's voice changes and you get a new kid. Is that what happens?
Well, we got the new kid already with episode 1 and Clyde.
Yep, that's true. Yeah,
but anyway.
absolutely. I assume, but I knew about him because of the Red Nose Day.
Right, special.
Well,
then you also know about Ronnie. So
of the 2 Ronnies.
well, that was the girl's name. So anyway.
Oh right. Oh, okay.
So
no, I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
All right. What are we talking about next week?
Well,
we did not discuss this, so I'm
No.
excited. I am just as excited to find out as you are, dear listener.
Well, next week I thought we would focus on an alien species, but I sort of have a jumping point of how to start the discussion.
Okay.
So next week we're going to be talking about the Cybermen. But the way we're going to talk about them, and we're going to talk about them generally in Doctor Who, but I happen to have 2 graphic novels sitting over there, and that would be the Doctor Who, Star Trek The Next Generation team up, I don't know if you want to call it that, where the Cybermen and the Borg team
I was
up.
going to say, and which is interesting because I always forget myself and call the Cybermen the Cyberborg.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we're going to read volumes 1 and 2, and then we'll review them. And then just, talk Cybermen, all things Cybermen, and then go from there.
So we're going to talk about the sock puppets and Bill.
There you go.
Oh, and Danny Pink.
Yep. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, maybe we should just spend. We can spend an entire episode talking about all of the people who become Cybermen.
That's true. Cyber people.
Cyber people. Cyber Bill and Cyber Pink.
Well, until next time, darling, you're my favorite person who is a miracle in my life.
Aww,
in all of time and space.
That's so cute. You're adorable.
This is BBC Television.